Hi and welcome to the Find Your Magic podcast. I'm Rob Sykes.
I'm Edward Pike.
And together we are Find Your Magic.
Anyway, this is a podcast where we explore why it's never too late to actively rediscover, find and live our magic, i.e. the things that make us us, make you you, and that bring us the most joy in our lives.
And sense of connection.
Connection, yeah, with ourselves, with others, with the planet, the world, and everything that we love.
So we've just come off the back, or we're just off the back of a retreat that we just ran last week, which was our first retreat exclusively for gay men. And we are feeling so full of gratitude and love and totally energized from the experience that we just wanted to record a little interview with each other, just talking about the experience, what made it so magical for us, and to give you guys an insight into the retreat experiences that we create for people here on Crete.
Yeah, this is the first episode of what we're calling Behind the Magic. So we really felt that call, invitation to share more of ourselves on the podcast. And as Rob just said, this first episode is all about giving you, some real insight into the retreat, the before, the during, the after. We hope you'll enjoy it. If you're listening for the first time, please do comment, like, and subscribe. It really helps share this message with more people.
Yeah, enjoy.
Enjoy. Welcome to this therapy session. How should we start this? Should we do a soft open like Louis Theroux?
Yeah.
This is our soft open.
Is your opening soft? This will be the start. So let's just start where we're currently at. So
Right.
we've just completed our first Find Your Magic Gay Men's Retreat here in Crete. And today is Monday, and we finished the retreat on Friday.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I am feeling excited. Very excited. I thought I'd be feeling more tired after this very busy week. We've had a couple of days to rest, and I'm just feeling a lot of excitement.
Is excitement is that really what you're feeling after the retreat? Excitement? Excitement's
Yeah.
really more.
I feel it in my gut. I feel this kind of excitement. It's like fire.
Ah.
You?
I'd say I'm feeling full. I'm feeling very full from the retreat.
Yeah.
I think the excitement was pre-retreat. I don't know that I feel, I feel full.
Okay.
I can talk more about what that means, but I feel very content, very happy, just full of gratitude and love. Yeah, it was an amazing week. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah, I agree.
So, is excitement what you're feeling?
Yeah. Stop telling me I shouldn't be feeling excitement. I'm not going to feel full just because you're feeling full. I'm feeling excited about what happened, excited about the future, excited about the connection we've got with these guys. The WhatsApp since Friday has been non-stop. I'm excited to see, also witness, the things they're experiencing now on their return home, which is great. I mean, that's always the most challenging thing for a retreat, right? Is, okay, you have this heightened experience. How do you assimilate it, and what changes when you go home? And we've had some echoes of people really changing the way they're approaching life and challenges and big challenges.
Already, yeah.
Yeah.
So should we frame what this conversation is going to be about?
I think that's a good idea. As we started off a bit waffly. Yeah.
Why are we doing this episode why are we doing this particular episode? Why are we having this particular conversation about the retreat that we've just run?
Well, I think there's a few threads again kind of running in why we're doing this conversation. For me, I was really, we've talked about this before, really excited to share more of the behind the scenes of what we're doing. That's the first thread, including, running retreats, which is what this episode will focus on. And secondly, the thread of what a Find Your Magic retreat entails, and with this specific one just gone, what that experience was for everyone, for the participants, for us. Yeah, those are the threads I would like to bring into this conversation. Is there anything that you want to
No,
add?
that sounds good. I think we should just start and see where the conversation takes us.
Yeah. So, should we start not from the beginning? In 2017, where I would like to actually start with the questions that we ask the retreaters a little bit. So, how were you feeling before the retreat?
How much before the retreat?
Yeah, exactly. Give us maybe a few stages. How are you feeling? Like a month before, a week before?
Okay. As I've already said, this was our first retreat that was specifically for gay men. The retreats that we've been doing since 2022 have been mixed groups, but those retreats have also attracted gay men, women, and straight men. And we decided this year to do one specifically for gay men, and that felt exciting because it's obviously a space that we inhabit as gay men. And yeah, I was just curious to see who showed up from us deciding to do a gay men's retreat.
Yeah.
And I always find it very stressful. It's not easy marketing retreats.
No.
It's a bit like casting a net out and hoping for the best, which isn't, I always struggle with the marketing because we haven't been doing them that long, and neither of us are kind of teachers that have weekly classes. Like, we're not yoga teachers, or even with my sound therapy, I don't do anything weekly. I don't, have a following as such. Whereas, people that tend to do retreats very often already have their audience. It's pretty much a dead cert that they're going to fill their retreats because they already have an established group of clients. And we don't really. And although we're both gay and we know a lot of gay people and we have lots of gay friends, we know by now that it isn't necessarily our friends that come on our retreats. God damn you. It's not our friends that come. And I kind of always thought, it's going to be really easy to get bums on seats, but it really isn't. And I find that particularly challenging. So this retreat was no different. I thought it was going to be a no-brainer doing a gay retreat because I thought people would really sign up well in advance, that because of the networks that we have and the people that we have access to, that it would be really easy. And it wasn't, again. So it was really stressful. We had our first inquiry in January from somebody that actually did eventually sign up, but they didn't sign up until April or May. So we were really excited when we first started promoting this retreat. We started promoting it in January, and we had more or less off the bat our first inquiry. So it felt like, wow, this is going to be really easy to fill. And it wasn't. It was a real slow burn, as it always is. So I find that challenging. We ended up with 8 guys from all over the world, which was incredible. But I think we had 3 sign-ups in the last 2 weeks. So it was a real, like I said, it was a real slow burn, not knowing who was going to come. If anyone would come. I always have that sense of who's going to come, is anyone going to come? But I also trust that the right people do come. And again, that proved correct. The right people did come. So a few months before the retreat, I was struggling with it because as entrepreneurs, we have to do everything. We do all the marketing, we do all the operational stuff, we host it. It's a lot of work, and some of those things aren't necessarily my biggest skills. So, marketing I find particularly challenging. Although I love creating content, it feels like, it's a non-stop horse that you're continually riding and riding and riding and riding, hoping that people are going to start engaging with the content that we create and that people will start signing up. And they did, but it took a while. So, yes, that was my experience of the lead up to the retreat. And then when we knew that we had 8 people, which I think was, like I said, only in the last week leading up to the retreat, we knew that we had 8 and they were coming from all over the world, then I was really excited, as I always am at the beginning of the retreat. Once I know that people are coming and I know how many people are coming and I've met them, then I get really excited.
Yeah.
That was a really long answer.
That's okay. I mean, I think it gives people an insight into how you work, right? Which is, this is needing to have like the answer before you get excited. And I'm not saying it was an easy journey for me either, creating this retreat. There's definitely some ups and downs, but a lot of my struggle is managing your stress and your worry. Yeah. And I don't regret any of that. I think, as I was saying to some guys on the retreat, often there's this saying that the biggest dragons hide the biggest treasures, and when it brings up so much stuff for us, I always know, okay, this is going to be really powerful. And for me, a few days before the retreat, I had that moment of utter frazzle. I had to cancel one of the circle events because I had this kind of overwhelm of feeling responsible for everything and everyone, my clients, the people coming on the retreat, my kind of studio video clients, the people in the circle, everything, and I was totally frazzled just a few days before. So as much as I was excited and mostly kind of trusting, even though there were definitely moments of like, where is everyone? Remember there were days when we got like 5 inquiries in a week and then nothing, and then kind of crickets for a few weeks. And we're still not at the stage where we know what works for us. Like, if people come from Instagram and book retreats, and from the Big Gay Out, from what's it called, referrals, and we're just starting to go, okay, these are the things that kind of might work for us. That's also the challenge, is that we don't actually have a system or a structure in place that we know works. We're trying things right now, right? But we're also, and this is one of the gifts of this retreat for me, was we're really clarifying and starting to own what we do. That's my sense, right? Yeah, you're nodding. Like feeling more confident in what we offer as a couple, as a business, as a space for people. Yeah, so all that to say that the ups and downs of the before, yes, there's a very practical piece that we're just improving over time and learning to manage better over time. But there's also a very profound piece in that. It brings up so much stuff because we care a lot about what we're doing, and we want to create something that's impactful, that's fun. I don't know, you're nodding. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you've said. I start to get really excited when, so we had our first sign up, which I think was Harry from the US. The way that we have people sign up to our retreats, you can't just book. So there's always a call that we have with somebody. It's tending to be video calls now, where we meet them. They inquire, we set up a call, and one of us or both of us will have a chat with that person and find out okay, where they're at in their life, what's attracted them to the retreat, what they think what they want to get out of it. So we get a sense of whether someone is, going to fit in what we're creating.
Yeah.
Most of them do, to be fair. But I get really excited. So then when then Harry signed up first, and then somebody else signed up, and then somebody else signed up. And as people join the group, I start getting excited, thinking, God, this person's, these I can tell these guys are going to get along, because it's kind of, there's just something. There's an alchemy. There's a magic to the group that forms.
Yeah.
But then I also go into my head thinking about my friends. Some of my friends thinking, I really want them to come.
Yeah.
I really want them on this retreat, because I know that they would get so much from it, particularly, where they are in their lives. Some of them are struggling a little bit. And then when we get the sign-ups, I think, oh my God, my friend would really love this person. I think they would really get along. So there's a mixture of excitement for the group that's forming, and then a little bit of, I don't know if frustration is the right word, but, there are people in my closer circle, my friends, that I would love to come and have this experience, because I know that it would do them the world of good. And I'd also love to have them here to share the experience with. So there's a mixture of emotions that are caught up. But one of the things that the people that sign up really respond well to, and a lot of people have said this in the video testimonials that we did at the end of the week, was that they really appreciated the call that we did with them initially, but then more so the group call that we did. Like we do a Zoom call 1 week before the retreat starts, so that everyone that's coming gets to meet each other.
Yeah.
So they can put a face to a name.
Face to a name, name to a face.
And they all said it really alleviates the anxiety that is natural when you're kind of going on a retreat, and not knowing. So to have met the group of people that you're going to be spending the week with before you've even arrived on the island really gives them a lot of relief. That the anxiety they feel is kind of, I wouldn't say it completely goes, but it certainly does a lot to alleviate the anxiety that everyone feels when they travel solo, I guess, and signs up for a retreat. What's it like what's your experience of the day of the actual retreat?
Of the first good
the first day of the retreat, what's kind of going on for you?
I mean, a bit of relief, because we work so hard, in the lead up to the retreat. I mean, this specific retreat for sure was for me at the end of 2 months of travel, shooting, solo retreats, your mum being here, so many different things, going to London for 3 weeks. And then we're also preparing the retreat, while also managing other clients, while also getting the house ready for our friends who came to house sit, showing them around, And so even for me, the morning of the retreat, I suddenly felt, now we're on holiday. Now the fun can begin, which is interesting because, we talk about frazzle and stress, and for me, and for a lot of people who are trying to do what they love, when we do what we love, we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it's all the practicalities around it that causes us so much stress. In this case, having to organize things and admin and all the kind of day-to-day stuff and paying bills and all these kind of things, it removes sometimes a lot of the joy of what we do. So that morning I was like, yes, can't wait to do this. Very excited. Of course, a tiny bit nervous, but more like tingling, excited nerves. And then as the people started to arrive, started to have the conversations, it just kind of slowly falls into place in terms of the group, and we start to get a feel of the vibe, and as you said, of the magic of the group. And after that first night where we ended up having dinner and playing Cards Against Humanity, and there's very few groups that we can play Cards Against Humanity with, full stop. but even more on the first night. And it kind of set the tone. We set the tone by kind of listening to our instincts on that, right? I can't remember who offered it, but it was clear, yeah, this is a right first step for this group. And it kind of removed all, or at least a lot of inhibitions and doubts, and even more anxiety for people, I think. So by the end of that first day, there was this real sense of, this is going to be great. Yeah, how was it for you?
The first day, driving to the airport to do the first pickups. Again, I was excited. It just feels like it feels very like it's finally the day has arrived. Like all of the work that we do, which feels like we do throughout the year, suddenly the day arrives and we're actually in the moment of, picking up the van and then doing the airport pickups and meeting people face to face. And I love that for me, there's never any awkwardness. Like I don't feel awkward meeting these people for the first time, and they are strangers to us, but because we've kind of met them already, it feels like we're meeting friends. And I think when we had our first dinner at the retreat centre, it just felt like we were old friends just catching up. Like someone said that in one of their testimonials, that for them, they went to bed on that first night feeling like they'd absolutely made the right decision, and that, that they felt like they'd been chatting to people that they already knew.
Why do you think that is? Do you have a theory? Because I think I have a theory, but I'm curious to hear why you think. Because this is not a one-off. This is nearly every single retreat. People have that experience, right? After the first day or the second day, they feel like they've been together for a lot longer than that first time, than that first day.
So what's your theory on that?
I think retreats, when they're really held with a lot of love and care, and when they're held by, well, let's call them big-hearted people that love planet, that want to do the best, like ourselves, but also other retreat facilitators that I know or that I've met. It creates this space of connection. And when people travel, get out of their day-to-day, it kind of, it removes a bit of the chatter in the mind, the noise in the mind, and so it's a lot easier for people to drop into that place of connection. And so, and this is the experience of a lot of everyone in the group, was that time changes. A sense of time, which is in our minds is very linear. It's very like second, minute, hour, It kind of changes to something a bit more fluid and a bit more cyclical and a bit different, which I think is actually how time is. And so that's my theory, that even though it is one day, in theory, it feels like time has already shifted. And that's, I think, part of the magic of being in a retreat space, because it becomes a bit timeless for people. So that, I think, is part of the magic.
What did you like about this group?
I really loved how everyone, it sounds cliche, everyone brings their uniqueness to the group. Someone has their sensitivity, and someone has more depth and wisdom and ground and calmness, and someone has more flamboyance, and and I love that everyone not only brought different things, but also in my experience kind of experimented with those parts of themselves. I really got the sense in this retreat of, we have so many ideas of who we are in our minds, and we can, real freedom is being able to actually experiment with our edges, our extremities, the flamboyance, the depth, the joy, the sensitivity. I really felt that in the group, that everyone did bring different parts, but also were curious enough or open enough to also allow their joy to shine through in their own way, or their emotion, or their sensitivity, or their depth. And it was like this great rainbow of the people, guys, of gay men. And it was just, yeah, I really love that for this group, about this group. And you?
What was the question?
I don't know.
What
What did you
what I
love
love
about
about
the
the group? I loved the differences between them.
Yeah.
The fact that they came from all over the world.
Yeah.
Some of them, more than one of them, English wasn't their native tongue. So that in itself was a challenge. Yeah, I'm always in awe of people that kind of sign up for retreats, because it's a real, it's quite brave to sign up for your retreat. And some of the people that signed up have never been on a retreat before.
Quite a few, no?
Yeah, well, they've certainly never been on a retreat, certainly never been on a gay retreat, didn't know what to expect, absolutely didn't know what to expect, actually thought that it wasn't going to be for them, and had some anxiety about whether they were going to be able to do whatever it was that we were going to ask of them.
Yeah.
So, there's a courageousness that I'm always in awe of when people sign up, and the fact that they come and, like I said, they don't necessarily have a complete hold on the language, but they're still here. I love the different age ranges that we had. We had people, some in their like mid-30s, some in their mid-60s. So that's quite a broad range of ages within that.
Yeah.
And yet everyone age didn't really come, it wasn't a factor in the actual group. It was meaningless.
Yeah.
I loved that they were so open to not knowing the program. The one thing that we did on the first night around the dinner table was encourage them or ask them if they would be happy not to know what we were doing from one day to the next.
Yeah.
And again, for some people who have control issues or need to know, that's quite a big thing to do. But they all said yes.
Yeah.
Like we've seen on previous retreats, they've actually said yes, even though they know it may be a bit challenging for them.
Yeah.
But then very soon into the week,
so much out of it.
yeah, very soon into the week, it's like, it's a massive accomplishment for some of them to not have control and to not know what's happening.
In my interpretation, it's because their nervous systems can start to relax even more, because, again, thanks to their trust in us, the love and care that we put in, the attention to detail, the listening to them that we do throughout the whole experience. I think it allows them to like go, part of their kind of brain or part of their body kind of goes, oh, I'm held, which ideally is our experience of life, right? But we forget that and we get into frazzle and into control and into overthinking things. So for a lot of people, I think it's a real like, I can just relax. I don't need to know what's coming. And kind of that part of themselves that tries to, part of us, because it's not, obviously we don't live in retreats. We have bills to pay as well. So we also dance between these two places, don't we? The presence and unfrazzled, and then these moments of frazzle. So that's my interpretation of why that's so powerful for people. It gives them an experience of being able to completely surrender, completely let go, and as a result, that kind of relax really relax their nervous system.
Yeah, and then on day one, when we do the first workshop, you lead the first workshop, and one of the main drivers of this work is getting people out of their head and into their body, right?
Yeah.
So one of the first exercises that you do with everyone is embodiment, getting them to connect with their body, which many of them aren't connected to their body. And, you do things that probably feel really strange to somebody that doesn't or isn't familiar with moving their body in a way where it's pleasurable. You bring, the first exercise is finding pleasure in the body, like even like moving the wrist or moving the toes or hand. Like, it's very, very simple. But what I loved about the first workshop is that because we're so comfortable with, you know, shaking and making silly sounds, and it's kind of contagious in the sense that people very quickly realize that no one's looking at them. Like, you know, when you're used to doing those exercises like we are, you know, and we're just freely kind of, you know, shaking or making sounds and being silly, it gives them permission to do it. Like, it takes away their self-consciousness. And I really loved the feedback that we got from the first workshop after we'd done the embodiment exercise, where people suddenly were saying, you know, ordinarily I'd be really self-conscious about doing that, but because everyone, you know, because no one was looking at me, like no one cared what I was doing, so I felt comfortable to do it, and there was so much freedom in it. You know, that's the very first day of people starting to get out of their head.
Yeah, we even went into dance that first workshop, didn't we? Which was quite early on to go into free movement dance.
Yeah.
I mean, relatively, but it was, for me, it was maybe the group, maybe our work has developed as well. It's like, you know, this is
Maybe
what
the
we
tunes.
do. Maybe the tunes. Oh my God, the music was such a massive part of this retreat, like all retreats. But yeah, wow. What's the highlights, or some highlights for you of the retreat? Give us a taste.
I mean, a highlight for me is always seeing the changes in people happening, seeing, like, listening to them. Obviously, what was interesting about this retreat was some of the workshops that you were leading, that you had a plan for. We'd sit down, and just from, you know, asking people just to quickly go around and say how they were feeling, that, you know, one person would say something and it would change the whole trajectory of the workshop, because it became very clear that actually what people needed was to say how they were feeling, and it kind of became bigger than the original intention or request from you to say how they were feeling. So it very quickly got very, well, I want to say deep, very, very deep, without it feeling heavy.
Yes.
It became, you know, somebody got quite emotional, and then it just, that first time that happened, it just became this really beautiful space of people opening up, and the rest
Being
of the group
real.
supporting the person that was speaking, whatever that person was going through or sharing. There was this immediate kind of support and love from the rest of the group. It sounds really cliched, but it was so moving to experience that.
Cliche. I think it's easy to think it sounds cliche because of the misconceptions around love, but this is one big highlight for me, and I'll interject just because it's like adding to what you're saying. One of the big highlights for me was really starting to own this word love and the space that we create that is love. We have our love as a couple, our love for people, planet, humanity, this work, our love for just being real, and our love for being joyful, and our love for being together. And what I really saw and really kind of started to, and I expressed to the group, I think, is for me, this was maybe one of the deepest and the most joyful at the same time retreats. And for me, the depth we went to was because we create a space that is light-hearted and joyful. It's not like, ooh, kind of pour me in deep, and like, ooh, there's a real, like, you can feel when it kind of goes that way. And as you say, it wasn't heavy. It was us being real in our love, in our pain, in our struggle, in our desires, our dreams, and just creating a space where people could really feel that. For me, it was really powerful to be able to put that into words now and to be able to kind of start to kind of make it more tangible, what we do naturally, starting to kind of put words onto it. Even now, talking about it is great. We can see, this is some of the mechanics of what we do, and we know we do this because this is, our work. I think that's the power of our retreats and the power of doing this over Find Your Magic at least over 4 years.
Can you talk a little bit about, again, we're still on the first day, but the first day workshop, the afternoon session where you pair people up and you send them off to tell their story.
Yeah. I mean, that exercise came out of, the very initials Find Your Magic method, where I was helping people who were creating websites and putting themselves out there to try and kind of hone in on their magic, on what their gifts are, what their story is. And it's developed into this hour-long exercise where people pair up, as you say, and someone has an hour to share their story. Another person is there to mainly listen, but also to try and identify and ask questions if they need to. Their key turning points, their key moments of pride or pain, some of the key themes and topics in their life, and some of the biggest realizations or learnings. And there's always there's always magic. People who are paired up obviously for a specific reason, let's say, like they always get so much out of their interaction. But also, when do we ever get a chance to tell our story in a contained way like this? When do we, and even that is just so healing for people, to be able to tell their story without being interrupted, and to be listened to, and to be heard, and to be curious about them. And for me, it's one of the most profound exercises of the week.
Yeah.
And we put it at the beginning because it's really about connection, right? That first 3 workshops are really about, okay, where am I now? And that's really the story of me so far. And then it moves into, what are the other questions we explore? Like, what's in the way? What lights me up and what's in the way? And what's next for me? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love the intimacy of that exercise where people pair up and go and tell their story, because to have a stranger listen to you and truly listen without interrupting you, you guide them not to kind of keep interrupting, but they can ask questions to kind of extract some of the kind of key, like you say, the key patterns or turning points, and that's an exercise in itself, just to sit and listen to somebody without interrupting, because we all have a tendency to talk over or interrupt or interject, when actually there's a real power in just sitting and listening to somebody, holding the space for them. I mean, I just really love that exercise. And for me, I think what I got from this retreat was seeing you in your power in terms of how you led the workshops. It was really, I kind of almost fell in love with you again, because I could see the gift that you have. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're supposed to say the same about me now. My sound therapy.
I wasn't there, your sound part, so I can't say the same.
Exactly. You didn't even bloody show up.
But for me, we're both reaching another level in our relationship, in our partnership, in our work, and in the structure that's there. And all of these things create this really potent place for people, and joyful. And I really felt that for myself. I was, again, one of the big gifts, beyond all the joy, beyond the laughter, beyond these amazing humans that we're now in contact with, was tangibly seeing the impact, the bringing together of all these different pieces of the puzzle for the last decade or so that I've been experimenting, working with people, learning from different people, studying, receiving different exercises, trying different exercises, and seeing how they all fitted together, and seeing the power that it brought when people were really open to it was amazing.
Can we just talk a little bit about the program? Like, let's talk about the structure of our, like, the program that we've created, how it's structured.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, you know.
Yeah.
The magic of what we've created is, I think, not only the sheer number of different things that we do, but it's the balance of the kind of the playful inner work that we do one day, let's say, when we're based in the retreat center, and then the next day will be an excursion to somewhere on the island that we love. But, you know, and some of the places we take the people to are very popular with the tourists, but the magic is we take them at a time of day when no one else is there. So, for example, you know, the first morning we got up, we got, you know, okay, they travelled like, you know, for hours. Some of them, one person travelled like 33 hours to get to the retreat from the US. And the very first morning of the retreat, we got them up at 5:30 to go and catch the sunrise. Because that's we know now that's a really powerful way to start the retreat. And it happened to be the summer solstice this year. So we were up watching the sunrise on the 21st of June. And a lot of, you know, somebody said I don't think they'd even seen a sunrise before. I can't remember, someone said that. And then we go into the water, swimming with the sun coming up. And then we take them over to the lake, which during the day is unfortunately, you know, occupied with pedalos and, you know, hundreds of people. But we go at a time of day when there's nobody else there.
Except for the leaf blower.
Except for the man with the leaf blower, who we
there.
will kill. We will take a contract out on him.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah, just to kind of give a sense of the program that we've created, you know, it's a day of inner work, inner playful work, workshops, fitness,
movement.
followed by a day where we're out in the van and exploring the
singing,
island,
having food together. And again, for the first, well, maybe not the first time, it's kind of been coming over the past 4 years. What we put together a program of like all the things that we love and we do with visitors on Crete, you know, except for some things. And it was always in my mind this sense of like, but there's so much in the program, and you know, how do these things connect? Should we simplify it and just do coaching and sound and something? And I really saw, I'm beginning to really feel how they're different activities. There's one thing underneath it all. It's just the one thread, which is connection. Connecting to our bodies, the world, each other, connection and joy, and connecting to that ground that we have in ourselves, that reality of joy and love that we are. Underneath all this conditioning and ideas of who we are and who we think we should be, you know, the real journey of finding our magic is actually rooting ourselves back in what's real, which is the love that we are, the joy that we are. And for me, the first time I really got the sense, what happens on the surface, the practical stuff, they're all connected by this one thread that we're inviting people to. So even this is a day of inner, a day of outer, they're still very much intertwined, aren't they? Because a lot of the magic is in the conversations that people are having on the van, or you know, these quiet moments we offer, quiet moments of wonder we invite people to do at different points in nature. It's all one thing, really. What was, out of the excursions, was there a moment for you that stood out?
Seeing the joy of people experiencing the waterfall. It never gets boring. I never tire of that. Because it's just so exhilarating. And because we do that waterfall experience, which has become
Instagram famous.
overpopulated, with zombie tourists. But the way that we do it is very different. We walk through we do a hike through the gorge first, and that is magical.
Yeah.
That is, for me, just as epic as the actual waterfall itself.
Yeah.
Most people that go to the waterfall now park their car, they walk down the steps, they go to the waterfall. Sometimes they don't even go into the waterfall because the water's so cold, and they walk back up the steps. What we do is we start. Oh, okay. I'm not supposed to. Okay, I won't say. But we do it in a way that they get to see so much more.
Yeah.
And that is thrilling. And walking through the gorge that's full of like bushes of sage and the smells, and you might see a goat, or goats kind of on the mountain, or eagles flying above you. It's just epic.
Yeah.
It's just the nature that and you can just see the people just really responding to it.
Yeah.
We talk about this immersion in nature. That is the immersion for me. Bending down, to go under a branch on the walk.
By nature.
Yeah.
Being in the water.
Seeing dragonflies in the kind of area where we do the natural. Yeah, there's a part where we stop and swim in the kind of the natural lagoon or whatever you.
Pond.
I didn't stop. Yeah,
not pond. It's moving water, isn't it?
But seeing all the dragonflies and things and I don't know. It's just it's magic. It is just absolute magic. And so seeing people experience that, I never get bored of it.
Yeah,
it's a highlight for me.
Yeah. So you asked this question on people's testimonials. I'm curious now, after this other iteration of the group, we've also done 2 solo resets, right, in the past couple of months. How has anything changed about how you describe what we do for people? What Find Your Magic, our retreats, do for people?
I don't think it's changed. It's reinforced what we say they do, which is a reset. It's a reset. I mean,
yes, good point.
It is a total reset, and it is. There is no other way to describe it. The retreat is a mind body reset, mind body soul reset.
Yeah.
And what I was reminded of this time was that people quite often come on our retreats because they're feeling a bit broken sometimes.
Or lost.
Or they're experiencing some really dark times back home. And I don't think they really believe until it's happened to them on the retreat that they can forget about that stuff whilst they're here, because they're so immersed in what we're doing with them. And you see there's a change that happens at some point during the week for those people. And then at the end of the week, they just look completely different. There's a lightness about them. So I've been reminded from this last retreat that what we offer is a total reset of the mind, body and soul for some people. And it's a reminder of, again, it sounds a bit cliche, but it's a reminder for people of love, what love feels like, of them tapping into their own love.
Yeah, and I'm drawn back to what I said, I think, at the beginning, which is, and I really experienced it because I really saw this week, that I think you introduced that when you talked about the humming, maybe the parasympathetic nervous system, right, the nervous system. And I really saw that in a few of them. Like one guy had to take the afternoon off to just kind of sleep and nap. And afterwards he just felt $1 million. And my sense of what was going on for him was like this dropping. It was after a big workshop on day 3, which was all about frazzle, what creates our personal experience of frazzle and our resistant states. Like someone might be over responsible or controlling or aloof, or there's many different states that we've been starting to work with, and that was a big workshop for people. And then the kind of the relaxation and the kind of the nervous system is the reset, really. I mean, it's other parts as well, but I really saw it this time around, what that word means. It's a bit of a buzzword, I'm run a retreat, this is a reset, come and have a reset, but it is a reset. And the reset is because people get out of their heads, get into their bodies, let themselves be surrendered, open, nurtured, loved, cared for, connect to their own power, their own wisdom, their own aliveness, their own joy, their own light. And that just naturally resets a lot of things in their body and their mind. And then as a result, in their lives when they go home, right? Which is always the challenge. And maybe that's something that, one day we'll do a podcast on, or we can talk about more, is how to integrate these big experiences into our daily lives. And
we've already had an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that has returned from the retreat and gone home to discover that their father was really, really sick and needed to be taken to hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a message, the group, we have a WhatsApp group now with everyone that was on the retreat, which is very active at the moment, but it's brilliant, but it is. And this person said that they were able to take charge and care for their father lovingly in a way that they would not have been able to have done before the retreat.
Yes, exactly. It's amazing that, because it's exactly. And that for me is like what finding our magic really is. It's been able to get into our power, into our gifts, into our love, honor, and then apply that to our to live that, to actually live it. And because of the reset of the whole system, it allows also people to have more capacity for that, to connect with it, plug into it, ground themselves in it as much as possible. Of course, we're humans, so we have to bounce between that and our messy conditioning. But there's also, it just allows for more capacity of love and action. Yeah. It was a beautiful example. And that's it. I don't have anything to add to that. It was a beautiful example. It is a beautiful example. And I'm curious to see how the guys, do in the next weeks and months. And as you say, we're connected to them. We have this WhatsApp group. Some of them have jumped on the circle, the inner circle that we run, and we're going to have some calls with them and some check-ins, and we'll be in contact with them one-to-one. And that's been, for me, is also part of this retreat, because, as you said before, the preparation is a massive part of it, the assimilation is a massive part of it, and it's so easy to not, and I've done that mistake, and that's why we know this, because we have made that mistake in the past of not honouring that as much. But really, it's a big part of the experience.
What's your hope for next year or going forward with these
retreats?
Yeah, specifically the
gay men's
retreat.
I feel a lot of joy and excitement for working with gay men. I also love working with women and straight men and having mixed groups. So I'm curious also to see how these kind of work in parallel. We've got the midlife reset in September. We've booked a date for next year already for a gay men's retreat, 5th to 12th of June. And we might be adding more dates if the demand is there. I feel there's a lot of energy and not kind of a drawn to that, what's the word? Niche, to use a better word, down that kind of community. It's an obvious place for us to go, and I'm also curious to how can we continue to serve mixed groups as well. How does that fit? And I'm still not sure about. There's a lot of energy in the gay men's work. There's a bit less energy in the mixed work.
No, I disagree.
Yeah,
okay, I wouldn't say there's less energy. I'd say it's just very different.
Ah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the mixed retreat, I mean, there hasn't been a retreat that we've done
No,
that hasn't been
exactly.
really powerful, and that the people that have attended it have not said they've
Yeah.
had the best time.
It's true. It's not what I mean by no energy. I'm just looking at where
There's
we
less singing and less show tunes.
maybe for now. I guess we put all of our energy into the Gay Men's Retreat so far this year. A lot of our energy.
Yeah.
That's maybe what I'm sensing. So yeah, you're right. Because it's another love. I love the people that come on our retreats, whether they're gay or mixed or whatever. So I'm excited to see how it evolves. And yeah, we were speaking about, how do we create a space for gay men online within part of the circle? Do we need to? And I think you and I came to that conclusion that ideally, in an ideal world, people could experience both. A gay man could go to a gay men's retreat, have a blast, have an amazing time because there's a shared experience, there's a shared story, there's a kind of, again, a kind of something in the nervous system that relaxes when it's just gay men, sense of understanding, especially with the love that we bring and the acceptance that we foster. But equally, a gay man to have an experience in a mixed group, have that same bond, love, care, equally would be wonderfully powerful and has been amazingly powerful. So to have these two containers that we're beginning to create and foster for me is really exciting. And it's just now that I'm kind of connecting to that, I'm like, oh yeah, this is why we work with not just gay men. It's never felt like something we wanted to do. We've always had that question mark. People have been advising us to do that and not do that. And we're like, ooh, maybe, but actually, no. Yeah.
I touched on this earlier, but we didn't really talk about it, but can we talk about the fitness sessions on this retreat?
Yeah.
And how amazing the playlists were, and that, I don't know, for me, I saw something happen in those fitness sessions that really just lit me up so much. And it was just, obviously I created a playlist for the fitness sessions. Obviously it was gay retreat, so I did lean a bit into, I did lean more into kind of, pop music and older tracks and with the new tracks, but also, some show tunes and musical numbers. And I don't know, I just felt that really helped those guys in particular relax into the space.
Sure.
Because some of them hadn't done any fitness for a long time, and it was just so joyful.
Yeah.
And the way that you, again, going back to you and your way of working with people, when you say kind of we're going to be doing fitness to people on the retreat, I'm sure that can bring a lot of kind of anxiety for people that aren't regularly exercising. But what you do is you simplify the whole thing, and you meet people where they are in terms of their individual levels of fitness, and you don't push anyone beyond their limit. So, and people, you say that to people, you kind of say, okay, if you've only done exercise, if you don't regularly exercise, then only do, 10 of those things, those squats, or where someone else that exercises more regularly, you'd say do as many as you can. So there's an immediate sense of safety, I think, that you create for people that aren't regularly exercising. And I think the music that I put together for this retreat really helped further that sense of kind of fun and safety and support. So I think, I said it at the time, maybe there's some kind of niche or opportunity to create fitness sessions, because they weren't even really, I wouldn't say they were like CrossFit. They were just, a lot of the exercises that we were doing, or that you had us doing, didn't even involve machines, right? We were doing
body weight.
it was just,
Maybe we should do this as part of the circle, some online fitness classes. Just a thought. Maybe there's a niche there for us.
But with pop music and show tunes.
Of course.
For the gays. No, because it just...
And their friends.
Yeah, but yeah.
I like the idea of this. What's the word? Put a pin in that. Come back to it later. Keep chatting about that. Because it was again very profound and powerful, those fitness sessions. Fun, joyful, and people had great, I think, from the feedback and from, people had great experiences from them. And in terms of learning to trust their bodies more, learning to have fun while they're exercising and moving, learning to challenge themselves, learning to have a bit of pleasure in their bodies and their movement. Yeah, so show tunes. Love it.
She had it coming. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Anything else to add? Anything you want to add?
No, I feel like I've kind of covered. I wanted just to kind of do a bit of a review of the experience of running the retreat and what happened.
And for me, I guess the thing I do want to add is, these conversations I love, and also for people listening, we'd love to know if you enjoyed it, because there's a thought in my mind, I know there's a thought sometimes in your mind, it's like, what do people care about this kind of stuff? Like, is this really interesting? So if you have listened to the podcast and you have found this interesting, I do feel the call for us to do more of these kind of behind the scenes or chatting on different topics about finding our own magic, right, in our relationship, in our work, in our life, and then practically how that looks.
Without it coming across as us blowing smoke up our own asses.
As much as we can. But, just try, that's part of the challenge, is like, how do we do it where either people don't care or like we're kind of being too narcissistic. So we're trying to find that balance. So for people listening, we'd love a bit of feedback on this one. If you enjoy this episode, please let us know, comment, or just send us a message. As we said, there's the next dates for the Gay Men's Retreat is June 5 to 12 in
2026.
2026. We booked a beautiful villa this time. We're pivoting a bit from our previous accommodation, which we're very excited about. Anything else to add practically? No. And we'll be back with new episodes for the podcast, new stories, interviews of guests very soon, but as well as maybe weaving in some more of these episodes. Yeah.
Great.
Goodbye. That's all, folks.
Thanks for listening. If you did, we might.
If not, you're not hearing this.
We might,